Hi, I'm Shayna from How to ABA. We get some questions about receptive labels and when do you teach them and what labels do you start with? Well, the first question of when do you teach them is after manding, or in addition to manding. So obviously when you've got a beginner learner and you're teaching language skills, you want to go in with things that are just really motivating. So you're going to look around to see what is motivating to this child, and that's what you're going to start teaching. So if the child really likes an apple, for instance, then I'm going to get him to request for apple, apple, etc. There's a lot of research to say that manding does lead to tacting, and manding also leads to receptive ID. So that means that if a student can ask for something preferred, they can typically label that. So if they say, I want apple, or just apple in terms of a request, I can also probably say, what is it? And they can typically say apple. However, if I were to teach the other way around, if I were to teach receptive labels first, like show me apple, or what is it, apple, that doesn't always lead to manding. So manding can lead to tacting, but tacting doesn't always lead to requesting. Does that make sense? Okay, so the very first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a large repertoire of mands, requests, nouns in that person's repertoire. Once they're able to request a lot of things, then you can quite easily move into receptive ID and expressive ID or tacting. Looking at some of these labels that you would teach first, these flashcards, can be argued they're not the best, they're pretty cartoonish, but what I do like about them is that there's no background noise. It is just the actual item and that's it. The other thing I like about them is they're pretty clear pictures. I mean, that is arguably, that's a banana. So in terms of which ones would you teach first? Sure, if you can move the camera down here, I'll lay these out and say, pretend these are my choices. What we want to do is we want to take items that are functional in that student's life. So I know that the student really likes apples and really likes bananas. Perfect, these are functional in that student's life. However, I typically try not to choose labels from the same category at the same time. So I'm going to choose one of those food items, and I know that this student eats apples more than he eats bananas. So I'm going to just work on that one. I want to typically choose about 3. Another one might be elephant. But a couple things with elephant, it's a pretty long word, and if the student's going to say it, chances are he won't be able to say elephant. And secondly, he doesn't have access to any elephants. He doesn't go to the zoo. He doesn't live in Africa, so that one's out. Shoes. He puts on shoes all the time. I could teach shoes. That's awesome. I don't love this picture of shoes. I would probably get a picture of his own shoes, or even better, get his own shoes. Mitts. I could teach mitts, but mitts and shoes are in the same category, so that's out. Oh, I could choose juice. Well, juice and apple, but juice and shoes sounds the same. Juice, shoes kind of sounds the same, so I want to stay away from words that sound the same too. That one's out. Hat, out. I could teach ball. Ball's totally different. It's a toy. He likes it. Ball, apple, shoes sound completely different from 3 different categories. So that's how I would choose my words to teach first.